Hello, and welcome to another episode of Adamo Baseball, where I'm your host, Adamo. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about possibly the best team in baseball. So, in yesterday's episode, I talked about how the Pirates were the one team in the NL Central where I knew where I was going to put them because they were the only team I knew that could be or would probably be last and were the worst team in their division. Well, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that there are three teams in baseball where I knew I was going to put them last. Or at least there's two, actually. There are two teams in baseball where I knew I was going to put them last no matter what. And the Pirates were one of those two teams. The other one I'm going to be covering in a couple of days, 4 to be exact. And look, there's no point in playing coy. By that point in time, you'll figure it out because they're the only team I haven't covered at that point. It's the Rockies. Well, for division winners, it's the exact same thing. There are two teams I knew before I did anything that I was going to put them as the division winner. The New York Yankees and the LA Dodgers. There's never any question in my mind that I was going to have the Dodgers win the National League West. Now, they do have competition, which is actually a good thing, because I've been talking about how I think that the San Diego Padres are going to make the wild card, and last year I picked them to make the wild card, and they did, and they won that first series, and it wasn't because of the expanded playoffs, it was because they were legitimately that good. And same as last year, I knew going into it this year that the Dodgers were going to win the NL West. Am I a Dodgers fan? Not necessarily. I don't hate them. I don't really have anything against them. I mean, they won it last year. I really didn't have any hard feelings about it. I wanted Tampa to win. If you go back and listen to my podcast from last season, you'll know how I felt. You know, it wasn't heartbreaking because I don't have any ill will towards the Dodgers. Last year was the first time that they'd won it since the year before I was born. So it didn't really hurt me that much. Are they in position to repeat? Quite possibly. They have the best lineup in baseball. You can quote me on that. Top to bottom, they have the best lineup. Their rotation is possibly the best rotation in baseball. You got 3 guys that can be an ace anywhere. You got a 4th that has been an ace. And you got a 5 guy that most anywhere else, you get him as a 3. Good luck finding that anywhere else. Now, it's no secret what their Achilles heel is. Their bullpen, okay? Their bullpen has had a lot of issues for a few years now. Last 3 years, Kenley Jansen, their closer, his ERA has been over 3. I'm actually going to start with the bullpen this time because I just happen to be talking about it. So yeah, their closer, Kenley Jansen. For the first 8 years of his career, he was a knockout closer. He was everything you wanted. He was one of the reasons why the Dodgers won so many divisions. For the record, they've won 8 straight and are well on their way to winning their 9th straight. Kenley Jansen was a huge part of that. The last 3 years, however, it's been a struggle for him. Yes, he has a lot of saves during that time frame. His ERA for the season finished over 3, and several points in all 3 seasons. His ERA was over 4. You don't want that from a closer. Seriously, you don't want that. If he can bounce back, then more power to him. I don't wish ill on anyone in baseball. I just don't think that any more of his prime is ahead of him. I think he's past it. And I think that's going to hurt the Dodgers. And they're going to have plenty of trade chips come July to try and beef up that bullpen a bit. Don't be shocked if they do. Don't be shocked if they trade for Richard Rodriguez from Pittsburgh. The rest of their bullpen, they got Blake Treinen. Blake Treinen had kind of inconsistent, but he had good years in Oakland. He hasn't been playing nearly as long. If Jansen really struggles this year, Treinen actually could end up overtaking Jansen as the closer, because Treinen was the closer in Oakland for a while. So don't be surprised if Treinen does take over that position. The other 2 guys I've written down, Brusdar Graterol, I know I'm butchering that name, and Joe Kelly. They're not necessarily particularly great, but also, I made this list before I read this headline. Like, I actually just read this beforehand. They may not be ready for opening day, because they're both hurt. So their bullpen, it's not only inefficient, it's hurt for the most part. So they could be having some problems going forward. That being said, that's really the only weakness this team has. I wanted to get the bullpen out of the way just for that reason, because their bullpen, if they can get that fixed, Dave Roberts is well on his way to a 2nd World Series ring and 4th World Series appearance in 5 years. Just let that sink in. They lost the 2017 World Series in 7 games to a team that later got caught sign stealing using electronic means, that being the Houston Astros. They lost to the 2018 Red Sox, who were the best team in baseball that year. Say what you want, they were the best team in baseball that year. They lost in 2019. All right, no, they didn't play in 2019. They lost in the division series to the eventual World Series champs in 2019 to the Washington Nationals. And then last year they won the World Series against the Tampa Bay Rays. There's no asterisk on that. They were the best team in baseball. And this year, if they play to their full potential, which there's no reason to believe that they shouldn't, barring a lot of down years, barring a down year from a lot of guys, they're going to win their 9th straight division title. And they're going to have at least 2, if not 3 Cy Young candidates. They've got the reigning Cy Young champ on their team in the National League. Tell me that this team can't repeat. I have them losing in the NLCS, but they're fully capable of repeating. And now that I've gone through the bullpen, now I'll move to the rotation. Okay. They got probably the best southpaw in baseball in Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw has been playing for, if he's not at 15 years, he's nearing 15 years. And he's still at the top of his game. He's still doing everything you want your ace to do. Not to mention the fact that he's doing it as a southpaw. He's got one of the weirdest windups of any pitcher I've ever seen. I actually got to see him in person at Nationals Park 2 years ago. He really does that weird right leg kick thing, so you don't really know what pitch is coming. And yeah, he's still Cy Young material. Second in the rotation, who a lot of people thought would actually take the first spot in the rotation, though for right now he's still second, Walker Buehler. When Kershaw decides to move on or retires or whatever, I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon. I'm saying that when he does eventually hang it up, or at very least hang up his jersey for the Dodgers, Walker Buehler is going to step into that role. He's been an ace quality pitcher now for multiple years. I think this is his fourth year in the league, third or fourth year, and he has been a consistent ace for the LA Dodgers. There's no I think this is his fourth year, yeah. There is no reason to believe that he can't keep that going. They struck gold when they got Walker Buehler. And there's no reason to believe that they won't continue to have solid gold come out of him. A possible Cy Young candidate. Third in the rotation, Trevor Bauer. The reigning National League Cy Young winner is third in the Dodgers rotation. Anywhere else, except for maybe New York Mets, Trevor Bauer is one. He was the best pitcher in Cleveland when he was in Cleveland, which was a pretty stacked rotation, by the way, with Clevinger and Corey Kluber, another Cy Young winner. He went to Cincinnati, was one of the reasons why the Cincinnati Reds went to the playoffs last year. That was partly because of the expanded postseason. But he pitched like the best pitcher in baseball. And, outside of Shane Bieber, he was the best pitcher in baseball. Shane Bieber being on the AL side, so, yeah. Fourth in the rotation, David Price. He's had to play third fiddle a lot in his career. When he was a Detroit Tiger, in the 2012 World Series, he was third fiddle, let that sink in, third, to Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. Then was David Price, then Anibal Sanchez. David Price has been a great, solid pitcher for a long time. When he was a Red Sox, he was one of the guys in 2018 that got the Red Sox that World Series championship. He got his first postseason win. I know the record was 0-9 going into that, but that wasn't entirely because he pitched poorly. A lot of times he just didn't get run support. When the Orioles swept the Tigers in 2014, he lost a 2-1 game throwing 8 innings of 2-run ball. Look, you only give up 2 runs over 8 innings. It ain't your fault you lost. You'll get the loss if you don't get run support. But that was his offense wasn't supporting him. And yeah, it wasn't because he did poorly at all. Revitalized his career with Boston in 2018 and didn't pitch poorly in 2019. He opted out last year. Even though he was officially a Dodger last year, he opted out, so that's why you won't see any stats for him. A lot of players did. It made sense. I don't know if he got a ring or not. Frankly, I don't know. That's ain't my business. But yeah, normally he is a 3, but he can pitch like a 2. And then the 5th guy in the rotation, Julio Urias. He's not a bad pitcher. He's had one bad year, and anywhere else, he's probably a 3. Or most anywhere else, he's probably a 3 in a rotation. And yeah, like, you can't necessarily build a rotation around him, but he's got no business being 5th. It's clearly because the Dodgers just have too much talent in their rotation, so that's just where they have to put him. If they have to pull a guy from the rotation to beef up their bullpen a bit, it won't be a demotion. It would be, hey, we need our bullpen better. Help. So really it'd be along those lines. So yeah, you're potentially looking at the best rotation in baseball. Normally I start with the lineup. Looking at the clock, I can tell that normally it would feel like I'd started with the lineup. I haven't even started it yet, so let's go ahead and get into it. Leading off, right field, Mookie Betts. 2018, won the American League MVP and the World Series, and was a huge portion of that. Like, without him, they don't win that World Series. They don't. And he's the ideal leadoff hitter. And of what I've seen, he's just a cool dude. He just happens to play like an all-star every year. Batting second, Corey Seager, shortstop. Of what I've been reading, there's actually some preseason props for him to be the NL MVP. When you consider the other guys on this team, those are some pretty big shoes to fill. He's played like an all-star every year. He's one of those guys that they just got to get his bat in the lineup because they just have so much depth, which is a lot, offensively speaking, which is something everybody wants. And he has consistently earned that shortstop starting job. Batting third, this is the interesting one. Justin Turner, third base. So, he's not the best third baseman in baseball, but he is certainly, he's definitely been, the Dodger for a while. He finally got his World Series ring last year. I think he's entering his either age 36 or age 37 season. I think this is his age 37 season. He signed a 2-year contract this past offseason. So after this contract, he's probably done. After the 2022 season, he could theoretically keep playing, but he's probably done after that. Outside of MVP, he's won just about every award you can hope. He's been a consistent third baseman for a very long time now. He's been on all 8 of those division titles for the LA Dodgers. And I think the Dodgers also won it in 2011. Or the division, that is. And if that's the case, then yeah, that means he's been part of 9, and he'll probably be a part of 1 this season. If he goes out after next year, there won't be any regrets with that guy. Batting fourth, Max Muncy, first base. He kind of just came out of nowhere for the Dodgers. I think it was 2 years ago. is like, wait, who is this guy? And he just magically appeared, just started hitting home runs. Just, here's a home run, there's a home run. Woo, there goes another one. And he certainly earned that position as the starting first baseman for the LA Dodgers. I mean, he's played other positions, but he solidified himself as first baseman. So, and it makes sense. So really, he's right where he ought to be. Batting fifth, Will Smith, catcher. Yasmani Grandal in 2018 was the Dodgers' longtime catcher. He was one of the guys that would actually take them the distance. He was the leader on the field. He knew how to handle a pitching staff with a lot of talent and probably ego. I don't know how much ego there is, but look, they're professionals that get paid millions of dollars, okay? There's going to be some. He obviously knew how to handle that. He struggled in the postseason, which is part of why the Dodgers weren't necessarily so ashamed to let him walk. Will Smith was his replacement, started playing in 2019, and started playing like an all-star right away. He actually picked up right where Grandal left off. Oh, and he's a pretty good hitter, too. Not just a really good catcher. Batting sixth, normally you'd expect to see him batting cleanup anywhere. He's already got an MVP under his belt because, people were throwing the term Triple Crown around with him a couple of years ago. Cody Bellinger, center field. He plays a good center field. He puts up gaudy stats in the regular season. His only real issue is that he struggles in the postseason. He didn't necessarily step up last year, but he played good enough. And then in the World Series itself is whenever he actually showed up. Though he did play well against Padres, I'll give him that. He has to be able to do that again. I know, it's like, what? He already did it. Cut him some slack. Look, the guy's got... Normal players are about here on the expectation level. I think I just showed just where his expectation level is. And he has to keep upping that because he's already set the bar so high for himself. He has to keep going. Which I hate saying that, but it's true. And normally you don't see a guy like him batting sixth. Normally you'd see him batting 3, 4, or 5. There just isn't room for him. Batting seventh, A.J. Pollock, left field. Played a lot of years in Arizona. 7, to be exact. Or 6. 6 year... 6? No, it was 8. No, he started playing in 2010. Played in Arizona until 2017. And has been a Dodger since. And he is actually really good. He's the kind of guy you expect to be hitting second in a lineup. Not 7th. There's just nowhere else in the lineup to put him. That's why they have him batting that low in the lineup. It has nothing to do with poor hitting. There's just nowhere else to put him. Batting 8th, Chris Taylor, second base. I don't know why it doesn't have Gavin Lux. Whenever MLB.com made this list, I guess Gavin Lux wasn't playing for some reason. Or maybe he was hurt or something. But they got Chris Taylor there, and I looked at Chris Taylor, and he's pretty good too. He's pretty consistent as well. So, yeah. Another guy that you'd think would be batting second. not last. When your worst hitter is hitting above the Mendoza line, you got the best lineup in baseball. They got the best lineup. They got the best rotation. If they shore up that bullpen, they have the team triple crown. In which case, they're the front runners to win it. Period. And don't be surprised if they do repeat as World Series champions. They're not going to have a World Series hangover. They may not win it, but they're not going to have a hangover either. I think I've made my feelings about this one pretty clear. And if you'd like to let me know your feelings about the 2021 LA Dodgers, you can do so in the comments below. Or if you're listening on my podcast, you can send me a message on Instagram. I'll read it. Or you can come over to my YouTube channel and watch my video and comment below. With that being said, thank you for listening. Cheers until next time.